What's up, guys? Mike here with Cards Do Sports Cards. So you've been listing cards, selling cards, now you're ready to buy some more cards for your inventory. But how do you know what to buy? Which players' cards are selling right now? Maybe you don't want to sell right now, but you're stocking your inventory with mid to long-term investments you want to sell over the next year or two. Or which players' cards are going to be selling at that time? So many factors to consider when buying cards to resell. So let's answer some of these questions in this video. Before we do, if you want to unlock the secrets of selling and investing in low-end sports cards on eBay, this channel is your go-to source for expert tips, honest insights, and strategies to help boost your eBay sales. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me if you want to stay ahead in the card selling game, maximize your profits, and take your eBay card selling business to the next level. You can also check out my other channel at Puck Mike, where I open and talk about hockey cards. Now, I recently started to be a little bit more intentional with my inventory buying decisions, targeting specific players and cards who I think will go up in value over a specific period of time, and tracking that player's value as time goes on to see if the value does increase at the time of my target sale date. But how do you be more intentional and more strategic when you're buying cards? Do you just buy who's popular at that time and hope the value increases someday? Do you buy players from the latest product release? Focus on cards in season versus out of season? So many things to think about when buying cards, and it can be overwhelming. Now, I've created 10 buying categories to help inform buying decisions when you're buying new inventory, as well as 8 subcategories that I call hype categories that might be able to help determine when demand for a player could increase and thus indicate a good time to sell. Now, I'm not using these methods every single time I buy inventory. This is really just for my investment style cards that I want to track over some period of time. I'm still buying collections, listing a lot of those, especially the low end ones, without paying a ton of attention to player performance and following those players and things like that. This is really just for cards that you really want to track over a period of time, and you want to be a little bit more intentional about when it comes to finding out if the value is going to increase so that you can maximize your profit. Now, I'm not going to go through every category in this video, but I do have them listed in the description. But we are going to look at a few of these with some examples so that you can learn how to apply these to your own buying decisions. Also, if you want to see me use these methods to buy cards for myself, be sure to check out one of my monthly recap videos here, where I do apply these categories to some of my own buying decisions, and I buy some cards on screen on eBay. All right, so let's use our first category on the list as an example. First category, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. These are the legendary players who have defined their sport over decades. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Serena Williams. Cards of GOAT players are long-term investments that can hold value regardless of current trends, appealing to collectors and investors alike. So how would you apply this category to your buying method? Very simple. When you're ready to buy cards, you simply go to the source where you're going to make your purchase. In my case, it would be eBay, and start to source cards of players who fall into that category. So we'd start to look for some Tom Brady cards. Now, it doesn't mean that any and every Tom Brady card is going to hold its value over time. So you can't just go to eBay and pick any random Tom Brady card and guarantee that in 5 years it's going to sell for 50% more than you bought it for. You just can't apply that blanket logic in the world of sports cards, no matter how great the player is. There's so many other factors to consider. But maybe it's a more rare card. Maybe it's an autograph, a numbered card to 25, numbered to 50. These would be cards that kind of fall into this category. Now, of course, it's not a guarantee. None of these categories are guarantees. Nothing in the world of sports card is a guarantee. Any investing, nothing is a guarantee. So this is not a guarantee method, but it's definitely something that can help you with your buying decisions. Let's look at another one. The sleeper pick, we'll call it. These are undervalued players who are flying under the radar but have breakout potential. You know I like hockey, so I have to use that as an example. Igor Shesterkin, goaltender for the New York Rangers, 118th overall pick in 2014. That's a 4th round draft pick. If you follow hockey at all, a 4th round draft pick has very minimal chance of making it to the NHL. He was passed on 117 times before somebody drafted him. Voted best goalie in the NHL in 21-22. Now, coincidentally, in that year, his PSA 10 Young Guns was flying high. $400 or $500, where maybe it was hanging around $200 or $300 before that. Now, don't run out and buy a bunch of Igor Shesterkin hockey cards. The time to apply this category for this player has already passed. But if you were sourcing cards anywhere from 2014, where he was drafted, to 2021, where his hype exploded with his breakout year, of course, and you applied this method to take a chance on a 4th round draft pick that wasn't a guarantee to make the NHL, you would have been successful if you then sold those cards in 21-22, when his value under the category of a sleeper pick matured, because at that point he wasn't a sleeper anymore. Now, to be clear though, and this is where it gets really hard too, because not all players are going to have cards available to purchase before they reach the peak of their hype. In Igor Shesterkin's case, I think his rookie card that we just used as an example wasn't even released until he started to get some hype and start to actually play some games in the NHL. So this is where you have to be really strategic and really good at sourcing. Even if there is any cards for that player, finding those cards, finding them in really good condition, finding something rare. So sometimes you're also battling product releases that may or may not include the player, which could in turn shorten your window between when the product is released and when that hype is the highest. In other words, the hype might already be at its peak by the time the product is released, which would at that point eliminate this person from the sleeper pick category. I think in Igor Shesterkin's case, to be honest, I don't think the Young Guns rookie card was part of the flagship products where they typically release the Young Guns, like Series 1, Series 2, and Extended Series. If I remember correctly, they may have released it as part of another product because he just was not on the radar. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So definitely something to think about there too as well. But aside from Shesterkin, there's plenty of other players whose cards was released. Young Guns rookie cards who was released that maybe they thought they were going to be good players, so that's why they did a card, and maybe they kind of fell off of it, but then they came back later, and so they were a sleeper pick because maybe they were drafted in the first round or the second round, didn't do much right away. 4 or 5 years later, they have a breakout season, and suddenly everybody says, wait, who was that guy again? That was a first round pick. I'm going to snatch that rookie card up. Those are the types of scenarios we're talking about with the sleeper pick category. Okay, so that's a couple examples of buying categories. What about these subcategories that I call hype categories? Again, I'm going to post these in the description as well, but these are categories or phases that can help influence the different buying categories as a player progresses on their journey. If we go back to the Igor Shesterkin example, again, if we were buying his cards before he was really popular, I would classify him as a sleeper pick. But then as I tracked that player over time, the factors, i.e. the hype categories that have the potential to influence his card value would be either the rookie phase because he didn't play in the NHL yet, and probably the breakout season for the same reason. So you have a sleeper pick, not on anybody's radar. What's going to put that person on somebody's radar is having a breakout season and going through that rookie phase. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a breakout season. Sometimes just coming on the scene as a rookie is enough hype to push buyers to the market for that player. Those are the phases that can influence a sleeper pick and push them to the point of popularity where buyers are saying, hey, I'm gonna buy this player now. All right, but how do you know which category to use and when? How do we put all this into practice? When I'm ready to buy investment type cards, as I've talked about in previous videos, I'm not talking about collections that I buy per se, where I'm just gonna buy them, probably list them right away, maybe list them in a few months, but I've started to buy investment cards to see if I can track some cards over time, if they're going to appreciate or not, and using these categories as my guide. So when I'm ready to actually invest in some card, not just buying collections to flip right away, but when I'm actually investing in cards, these are the categories I'm using and help informing my buying decisions. Now, there's probably not a one size fits all here, as the sports card industry is very fluid, and a lot of this, especially for rookies, depends on if the card or cards have even been released yet when you're looking to buy, as I've already referenced. But for example, look, you know hockey does pretty well during the hockey season. October, November, December, so it's usually better to buy hockey closer to the spring. The season is ending, the hype is dying down a little bit, people are starting to think about baseball. It's something else to consider, but to be honest, I haven't been following that strict of a schedule when it comes to buying cards in and out of season. And for some of these, it won't really matter because a sleeper pick from 5 years ago isn't going to have much of a cost difference in or out of season anyway. A lot of these categories, you're looking for the diamond in the rough. You're looking for where the hype is at a 0, so that doesn't really matter if it's in or out of season. Now, some categories are more time specific though, like the Hall of Fame contender. This is players nearing the end of their careers likely to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, that player's not going to fit into that category until they reach that point in their career. So some of these are a little bit more specific or time specific. But as a general rule, unless the category has that time specific dependency, I think these can be applied year round as you fit them into your own strategy and decision making. So just ask yourself when you're ready to source cards, again, not necessarily collections, individual cards, what category does the player fit into? And then as you track that player's performance over time, which of the hype categories have the potential to influence that player's card value in an impactful way? And then how often do you need to check in on your investment to know when is the right time to sell? If you have a sleeper pick and maybe you're waiting for them to make their pro debut, let's say maybe they're playing in the minor leagues, maybe they've been playing there for a few years. Again, you'd have to learn this by doing research on these players and tracking them, but you'd probably want to check periodically, maybe every month, to see if they've been called up to the big leagues. If it's the off season, maybe check and see if there's any news updates on them. A lot of writers will post, this player likely to make the team next year. That might give you an indication that, hey, this person's going to make the team next year. The season's 3 months away, 3 to 4 months, I'm going to keep an eye on it. Maybe they have a hot start to the season. Perfect time to see if the market is asking for that card, try to sell that card. Eventually, and this is probably a million years down the road when I have more free time, but I have a job, I have kids, and I do sports cards on the side, so probably never going to happen because I'm never going to have free time. But I'd love to build a system system into my current tracking that calculates a lot of these data points and categories automatically based on player info and performance. Like if someone was a first round pick but hasn't played any pro games yet, could I put them in the sleeper category automatically? Let's just say, okay, give me all first round draft picks from 6 years ago who haven't played a pro game yet. And then based on a combination of their season and team stats, assign them certain hype categories as they do or don't reach certain milestones. So you'd identify your sleeper pick, first round draft pick 6 years ago, no pro games, but hey, 10 games into the minor league season, they have 20 points. They are approaching the breakout phase and potential call up to the big leagues. That triggers, hey, it might be a good time to check on this player and start selling their cards. But not there yet. That would take a lot of data analysis, especially to do for more than one player. So for the time being, I'm just going to be where I'm at, tracking my investments manually. The only other thing I'll say here, and I think I alluded to this earlier, you do not have to follow these categories strictly every time you're going to go buy sports cards. This is mostly applicable for buying single cards, although it could be applied to buying card lots. Depends on the lot, of course, but it's just a little bit more tricky with card lots and card collections because you have a lot more players to evaluate. So it's probably not sustainable to check every player in that collection before you make a purchase. And of course, as always, you have to do this at your own risk. Like with anything in sports cards, this is not a proven method. This is something I've put together that I think will help my buying decisions. I've just started a couple months ago, turning the corner here with just buying a few cards here and there as investments. I'm not spending $1,000 a month on investment cards. I've only bought about 4 right now. I have some from the past that I've bought, but really applying these methods, I've only bought about 4 cards of one player so far. I'm going to try this for maybe 6 months to a year, see if it works, change it up. I don't know. Always evolving the business, as I've talked about in my last video. So it's not a 100% thing. It might work, it might not work, but definitely something that can help you and guide you when you're buying sports cards. And we need all the help we can get in a market that has a lot of players in the game. So check out the categories in the description. You can also check out everything else I have in the description. I have my affiliate links for a lot of the products I use, top loaders, envelopes, sleeves, the scanner that I use. I have my Facebook, Instagram links in there as well. I need to be better about posting on those. Have my eBay store. You want to go show some support, really appreciate it. Much more to come on these strategies. You'll probably see me use them a lot on screen and reference them. We're definitely going to do an investments check-in when we recap this month in our monthly recap video. I haven't bought some investment cards in a while, so maybe we'll buy some cards in that video as well. We'll see. But if you hear about these categories, make sure you tell anybody. You heard them here first. They're in the description. I really appreciate everybody's support. As always, if you want to unlock the secrets of selling and investing in low-end sports cards on eBay, this channel is your go-to source for expert tips, honest insights, and strategies to help boost your eBay sales. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button for me if you want to stay ahead in the card selling game, maximize your profits, and take your eBay card selling business to the next level. You can also check out my other channel at Puck Mike, where I open and talk about hockey cards. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.